What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the life you want is one decision you keep postponing? Not talent, not money, not connections, a decision. Right now, there are two versions of you. One is full of potential, ideas, ambition, dreams big. Sees a different future, imagines success, freedom, confidence. But there's another version of you, the one who hesitates, the one who waits, the one who says, I'll start tomorrow. And here's the truth most people never admit. Tomorrow is the most dangerous word in the world. Tomorrow has killed more dreams than failure ever could. You don't need another motivational quote. You don't need another plan. You don't need to feel inspired. What you need is movement. Because action is the only language success understands. Look around you, the world does not reward intention. It rewards execution. It does not pay for ideas. It pays for implementation. It does not celebrate potential. It celebrates performance. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not intelligence. It's action. Think about this deeply. Every successful person you admire once stood exactly where you are standing now. Confused, unsure, doubting themselves. The only difference, they moved while others waited. They felt fear and acted. They lacked confidence and acted. They faced uncertainty because they understood something powerful. Clarity comes after movement, not before it. Right now, you might be waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment is a myth. It does not exist. There will always be distractions. There will always be obstacles. There will always be reasons to delay. The question is not, are you ready? The question is, are you willing? Are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to be misunderstood? Are you willing to fail forward instead of standing still? Because the life you want requires a version of you that acts without permission. A version of you that stops negotiating with excuses. A version of you that understands that discipline today prevents regret tomorrow. This is not about hype. This is not about temporary motivation. This is about identity. This is about becoming the type of person who executes no matter what. Imagine 6 months from now. Imagine what happens if you start today. Small, imperfect, but consistent. Now imagine 6 months of delay. 6 months of hesitation. 6 months of I'll do it later. Which future do you want to live in? By the end of this video, you will not just feel motivated. You will feel challenged. Challenged to confront your excuses. Challenged to take ownership. Challenged to force yourself into action. Because once you move, everything changes. And today, you move. Action creates clarity. This is one of the most misunderstood truths about success. Most people believe clarity comes first. They think they must fully understand the path before taking the first step. They wait for the perfect idea, the perfect strategy, the perfect timing. But clarity does not come from thinking. It comes from doing. When you sit still and overthink, your mind creates fog. You imagine problems that do not exist. You build fear out of assumptions. You convince yourself that you need more preparation, more knowledge, more comfort. But here is the reality. Thinking about swimming will never teach you how to swim. You must enter the water. Only when you move do you understand the depth, the temperature, the resistance. Action reveals information that thought alone never can. The biggest illusion people have is that successful individuals started with perfect clarity. They assume those who built businesses, created movements, or achieved greatness had a master plan from the beginning. The truth is far simpler. They started uncertain. They started confused. They started scared, but they moved anyway. And with every step, the path became clearer. When you take action, even small action, something powerful happens inside you. Your brain shifts from imagination to reality. Instead of asking, what if I fail, you begin asking, what can I improve? Instead of fearing judgment, you start focusing on progress. Action changes the quality of your question, and better questions lead to better answers. Consider someone who wants to start a business. If they spend 6 months reading books, watching videos, and planning every detail, they may feel productive. But in truth, they are still standing at the starting line. The moment they launch, even imperfectly, they begin to learn what customers actually want. They discover real challenges. They see real opportunities. Feedback begins to shape their direction. That feedback is clarity, and it only appears after movement. Clarity is not a light that turns on before you begin. It is a light that turns on because you begin. Overthinking is often disguised as preparation. But preparation without execution becomes procrastination. Many people hide behind research because it feels safe. Action feels risky. Research feels controlled. But growth only happens when you step into uncertainty. You cannot edit a blank page. You cannot improve a project that doesn't exist. You cannot refine a skill you never practice. Every action, even imperfect action, gives you data. And data eliminates confusion. When you try and fail, you learn what does not work. That is valuable information. When you try and succeed, you learn what to repeat. That is direction. Either way, movement sharpens your understanding. Think about learning to speak confidently. You can read about communication skills for years. But until you stand in front of people and speak, your knowledge remains theoretical. The first time you speak, you might stumble. The second time, you adjust. The third time, you improve. After 10 times, you are no longer confused about your weaknesses. You know exactly what to fix. That awareness is clarity created by action. Fear thrives in stillness. When you delay action, your imagination magnifies risks. You picture embarrassment, rejection, and failure. But once you act, reality replaces imagination. And reality is often less terrifying than the stories in your head. Movement breaks the cycle of fear because it confronts uncertainty directly. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you take action. You begin to see yourself as someone who moves instead of someone who waits. Identity starts changing. Instead of saying, I want to start, you begin saying, I started. That small difference changes how you think about yourself. And when your identity shifts, your decisions shift. Clarity is not just about knowing what to do. It is about understanding who you are becoming. When you act consistently, you discover your strengths. You discover your resilience. You discover your limits and then push beyond them. None of this is visible from the sidelines. Many people believe they must eliminate doubt before they begin. But doubt fades through exposure, not avoidance. The more you act, the more comfortable uncertainty becomes. You stop expecting perfection. You start expecting growth. That mindset alone removes confusion. Action also reveals passion. Sometimes you think you want something, but only by trying it do you realize whether it truly excites you. Without action, you remain trapped in speculation. You cannot know what you love if you never test it. Trying different paths gives you direction. Direction creates focus. Focus creates clarity. Even mistakes are powerful teachers. Failure is not the opposite of clarity. It is part of the process that builds. When something doesn't work, you eliminate one wrong path. With every wrong turn, the right path becomes more visible. If you never move, every path looks uncertain. If you move, options narrow and decisions become easier. You need to decide that no matter how small the effort, you will not stay still. Even 1% better each day leads to massive growth over time. If you feel overwhelmed by your goals, shrink the action. Make it so small that it feels impossible to refuse. That is how you defeat excuses. Not by arguing with them, but by acting anyway. In the end, success does not belong to the most talented or the most intelligent. It belongs to those who keep moving. One step at a time, one decision at a time, one improvement at a time. Small steps beat big excuses because they create real movement. And real movement, no matter how small, always wins against standing still. Pain of discipline versus pain of regret. Every human being will experience pain in life. That is unavoidable. The only real choice you have is which pain you are willing to live with. One pain is temporary, controlled, and purposeful. The other is heavy, lingering, and filled with what if. One builds your future. The other haunts it. The pain of discipline is waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It is studying when others are scrolling. It is training when muscles ache. It is working on your goals when no one is watching. It is saying no to comfort so you can say yes to growth. This pain feels sharp in the moment. It demands effort. It requires sacrifice. But it has a direction. It moves you forward. The pain of regret is different. Does not hurt immediately. It is quiet at first. It whispers, you can start tomorrow. It comforts you with excuses. But as time passes, it grows heavier. It shows up when you see others succeed. It appears when opportunities pass by. It speaks late at night when you think about what you could have done. Regret is not loud in the beginning, but it becomes deafening over time. Discipline costs you comfort now. Regret costs you peace later. When you avoid discipline, you are not avoiding pain. You are postponing it. The discomfort of effort may last hours. The discomfort of regret can last years. And unlike discipline, regret offers no reward. It only reminds you of what you did not do. Think about health. The pain of discipline is choosing healthy food when junk food is easier. It is exercising when you feel tired. It is pushing through discomfort to build strength. The pain of regret is facing illness, weakness, and wishing you had taken care of your body when you had the chance. One is a choice. The other becomes a constant. The same applies to education, career, relationships, and personal growth. The pain of discipline is preparing while others relax. The pain of regret is realizing you wasted your potential. And wasted potential is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry. Many people misunderstand discipline. They see it as restriction. They see it as punishment. But discipline is actually freedom. It gives you control over your actions. It allows you to design your future instead of reacting to it. Without discipline, you become controlled by impulses, moods, and distractions. Regret, on the other hand, feels like losing control. It feels like watching life move forward without you. It feels like knowing you had the ability but did not use it. There is a powerful truth here. The pain of discipline decreases over time. What feels hard today becomes easier tomorrow. When you start a new habit, it feels uncomfortable. But repetition reduces resistance. The early mornings become normal. The workouts become routine. The study sessions become structured. Discipline strengthens you. Regret works in the opposite way. It increases over time. The longer you delay action, the more opportunities disappear. The more time passes, the fewer chances remain. Regret compounds. It does not fade easily. When you're young, it may feel like there's endless time. Skipping effort today seems harmless, but years move quickly. And one day you may look back and realize that time was your greatest asset, and you did not invest it wisely. The pain of discipline builds self-respect. Every time you choose effort over excuses, you prove something to yourself. You show that you are capable of control. That builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. Momentum builds success. The pain of regret destroys self-respect. Every time you break promises to yourself, you weaken trust. You start doubting your own ability to follow through. That doubt spreads into other areas of life. Discipline also teaches resilience. When you regularly face discomfort, you become stronger mentally. Challenges no longer scare you as much. You understand that discomfort is temporary. You learn to push through. That strength becomes part of your character. Regret weakens resilience. It makes you afraid to try again. It fills you with hesitation. It reminds you of missed chances instead of encouraging new ones. There is a moment in every decision where you choose between these two pains. It may be small. It may seem insignificant, but those moments define your future. When the alarm rings early in the morning, that is the moment. When you decide whether to study or procrastinate, that is the moment. When you choose between investing time in your dream or wasting it, that is the moment. In those moments, discipline feels harder, regret feels distant. But the future flips that feeling. Later, discipline feels like pride. Regret feels like suffering. Success is not built on motivation alone. Motivation fades, discipline remains. Discipline is what carries you when emotions change, and emotions always change. People who achieve meaningful success are not people who avoid pain. They are people who choose productive pain over destructive pain. They understand that growth demands effort. They accept temporary discomfort for long-term fulfillment. Imagine yourself 5 or 10 years from now. Which version of you would you rather meet? The one who endured short-term discomfort and built something meaningful? Or the one who avoided effort and carries unanswered what-ifs? The truth is simple but powerful. Both paths are hard. Staying comfortable is hard in the long run because it leads to regret. Being disciplined is hard in the short run because it demands effort. You cannot escape difficulty. You can only choose which difficulty you want. The pain of discipline is an investment. It pays you back with progress, pride, and possibility. The pain of regret is a debt. It charges you with disappointment, frustration. Every day gives you a choice. Small disciplined actions may not feel dramatic, but they protect you from future regret. They build a foundation. They create options. They open doors. At the end of life, most people do not regret the risks they took. They regret the risks they avoided. They regret the chances they did not pursue. They regret not believing in themselves enough to try. You do not want to sit in the future wishing you had acted today. You want to stand in the future grateful that you endured discomfort when it mattered. Choose the pain that strengthens you, not the pain that weakens you. Choose the effort that builds your future, not the comfort that steals it. Because in the end, discipline may hurt now, but regret hurts forever. Momentum changes identity. This idea goes deeper than productivity or success. It is about who you become when you move consistently. Most people focus on results. They measure progress by money, grades, followers, or recognition. But the real transformation happens internally. When you build momentum, you do not just change your situation. You change your self-image. Identity drives behavior. If you see yourself as lazy, you act lazily. If you see yourself as disciplined, you act with discipline. The problem is that many people try to change their identity through thinking instead of action. They repeat affirmations. They visualize success. But their daily behavior stays the same. Without action, identity remains unchanged. Momentum is created by repeated action. When you take consistent steps toward a goal, even small ones, you start collecting evidence. Evidence that you are reliable. Evidence that you can follow through. Evidence that you are not the person who quits easily. This evidence reshapes how you see yourself. At first, the actions may feel forced. You might not feel like a disciplined person. You might not feel confident. But when you act anyway, something shifts. The second time is easier than the first. The 10th time feels natural. The 100th time feels automatic. That is momentum building. And with it, your identity begins to evolve. Most people underestimate how powerful identity. If you believe I am not the type of person who wakes up early, you will struggle every morning. But if you build momentum by waking up early consistently, eventually your mind stops arguing. It accepts a new truth. I am someone who wakes up early. That belief changes your behavior permanently. Momentum reduces internal resistance. In the beginning, every action requires willpower. You must fight distractions. You must fight comfort. But once you create a streak of consistent action, it feels harder to stop than to continue. Breaking the streak feels uncomfortable. That discomfort protects your progress. Think about someone who starts exercising. The first week feels painful. The body resists. The mind looks for excuses. But after several weeks of consistent training, missing a workout feels strange. The person no longer identifies as someone trying to exercise. They identify as someone who trains. That shift is powerful. It is no longer about motivation. It is about who they believe they are. Identity built through momentum is stronger than motivation built through emotion. Emotions fluctuate daily. Identity stays stable. When action becomes part of who you are, you do not debate it. You execute it. Momentum also changes the way others see you. People begin to notice consistency. They notice reliability. They trust you more. But the most important change is internal. You trust yourself more. And self-trust is one of the strongest foundations for success. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity. Every time you break a promise, you weaken it. Momentum is simply the accumulation of kept promises. It is the proof that you are capable of discipline. There is a compound effect in identity transformation. At first, results may not be visible, but internally, confidence grows. You start speaking differently, thinking differently, making decisions differently. You begin to choose long-term rewards over short-term comfort without hesitation. That is not just productivity. That is identity evolution. Many people are stuck not because they lack talent, but because they are trapped in an outdated identity. They still see themselves as beginners, as procrastinators, unlucky. To break that cycle, they must take repeated action until the old identity no longer fits. Momentum also protects you during setbacks. When you have built a strong identity around action, one failure does not destroy you. You do not see failure as proof that you are incapable. You see it as a temporary event. Because your identity is no longer I try sometimes. It becomes I persist. Without momentum, every obstacle feels like a reason to quit. With momentum, obstacles feel like part of the process. The difference is identity. There is also a neurological component to this. Repeated behavior strengthens neural pathways in the brain. The more you repeat an action, the more automatic it becomes. What once required effort becomes natural. That is why habits shape personality. There will be days when progress feels invisible. That's normal. That's part of the process. But remember this, consistency during those invisible days is what separates winners from spectators. 1 year of focused action can change your entire identity. 5 years of relentless discipline can change your family's future. But none of that happens if you stay comfortable. Comfort is expensive. It charges you interest in the form of regret. You are capable of more than you should. Not because I say so, but because you feel it. There's a reason you clicked on this. There's a reason you stayed until the end. Something inside you knows you're meant for more. That voice inside you, listen to it. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not wait to feel fearless. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite it. After this ends, don't scroll. Don't delay. Don't say, I'll start tomorrow. Choose one thing. Just one. And begin. Send a message. Start the project. Wake up earlier. Open the book. Take the first step. Because your future self is watching you right now. And one day, you will either thank yourself for starting or wish you had. Make sure it's gratitude, not regret. Now go. Take action.